excited to be with all of you today as we're going to learn how to make Hamantashen. I'm sure some of you are already pros at it, so we hope that you will have a lot of fun. And for those of you who are first-time Hamantashen bakers, you're in good hands because Sylvia is a wonderful teacher. So I hope you're already getting in the Purim spirit. Maybe you participated in the amazing Purim race this morning, all around town. We had a lot of fun, and we gave out some Hamantashen there too. But there's nothing like homemade Hamantashen. The famous, some people say it's Haman's hat. Some people say it might be Haman's ear. I don't care as long as it tastes good and as long as it has a filling that I like. So with that, I'm thrilled to, first of all, to thank Jen White for all of her help getting our adult learning programs up and running. And I'm very happy to welcome back Sylvia Fallas. You may have met Sylvia before if you joined us for our latke making back around Hanukkah. We had such a great time. We invited Sylvia back to help us make Hamantashen tonight. So Sylvia, we're thrilled to have you and looking forward to cooking with you.
Hi everyone, happy Purim. I'm so excited to be baking Hamantashen. And Purim is one of my favorite holidays because, I mean, who doesn't want to eat cookies? So I'm here baking with you all, and I'm on batch number 7. So just in case your Hamantashen come out a little funny looking, you're all welcome, and I'll throw you some Hamantashen out my window. So just like the rabbi said, it may be Haman's hat, it may be his ears. We're not quite sure where the idea of a triangle-shaped delicious cookie came from, but a little tidbit that I learned that I think is really cool is in the Purim story, not everything is revealed. Like, it's not a story A, B, C, D, E, F, and then the end. So it kind of goes backwards and forwards, and there's a lot of hidden sort of secret messages in the Purim story. So I'm going to grab a Hamantashen. I'm going to show you. So see how in my funfetti Hamantashen, we only see like a peek of the filling? So in the store, we only see a peek of what happened. So just like a Hamantashen, we have to peel open the layers to reveal what's inside. Our cookie represents that too. So there's more to Purim that meets the eye, and there's more filling than what you see here. So I hope everybody enjoys their cookies. And if you want to make funfetti style Hamantashen now or another time, all you have to do is throw some sprinkles into your dough. Yes, so a little sprinkles never hurt anybody. So before we start baking, we're just going to run down with a quick play-by-play of what we're going to do. You have 2 options. You can bake your Hamantashen now, and if you're going to bake your Hamantashen now, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. If you don't want to bake your Hamantashen now, you're going to clear some space in the freezer for your tray, and you can bake them tomorrow, the day after. If you forget about them, the day before Passover, whenever you'd like to bake your Hamantashen. If you get tired or bored or you got to run in the middle, you can save your dough in the refrigerator, and it's good in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. So now that our ovens are at 350, our Hamantashen is a basic sugar cookie dough. So we're going to make the dough, roll the dough, fill the dough, pinch the dough, and pop it in the oven. I believe sugar was left out of the ingredient list. That's my mistake. So you're going to grab 2/3 of a cup of sugar for your recipe. If you don't have 2/3 of a cup of sugar, chat with me and I will find you a reasonable substitute. But you're going to need 2/3 of a cup of sugar. And the list of ingredients was on the registration, but I'm going to go super slowly and I'll give everybody enough time to find what they need. And maybe if everyone's getting really confused, I'll chat and I'll type what we need, but I will gladly send out the recipe later tonight.
Sylvia, why don't I just quickly go through the list of ingredients so that people can
Perfect.
grab them if they don't have them.
Perfect. So I'll shout out what we need.
Okay,
So
great.
Before we go over the ingredients, each batch should make 24, but that depends how thin you roll them and how big you cut them. So I've gotten anywhere between 12 when I've baked with my children to 30 when I've baked by myself. So the baking estimate is a rough 10 minutes, but if you're baking with small kids and you get face-size Hamantashen, I'd give it a couple of extra minutes in the oven. So we're gonna go over our ingredients, but I'm gonna mix my dough slowly so everyone can keep up with me. We're gonna need 2 eggs.
Great.
We are going to need a 1/4 cup of oil. I see some oil being measured.
And that's like canola oil, right?
Canola oil, melted coconut oil, vegetable oil, melted butter, fat of your choice.
Never
not
met a
picky
fat I
here.
didn't like.
Exactly. I'd stay away from like super strong olive oil, but anything else works.
If you do the
Okay.
coconut oil, you said melting it, do you measure it as the, I guess, 1/4 cup and then melt it, or you melt it first and then measure from there 1/4 cup?
You melt it first, so you want a 1/4 cup melted. And if you have, let's say you measure too much, you can pour the melted back into the jar and it'll just solidify again.
Great.
Nice oil. And then we're going to need 2/3 of a cup of white sugar. If you don't have it, you can use brown sugar. And now this is if you want to be super extra. A lemon or an orange and a little grater. This is optional, only if you want to be fancy. I think I'm gonna go from funfetti Hamantashen to fancy Hamantashen. So totally optional. We're only using the rind, only if you want to. Totally 1000% optional. And then we're gonna need vanilla. If you don't have vanilla, totally okay. I've done it without it. Everyone survived. And then we are going to need baking powder.
Oh, they didn't tell us that. That was.
If you don't have it, they come out delicious, just a little bit less fluffy. More of like a crispy Hamantashen. So that's up to you.
How much?
1 teaspoon.
Are we supposed to be putting this into the bowl as you're saying it?
No. I'm just telling you what you need in case you need to climb up on the ladder to grab something. But I'm going to repeat everything as I add it to my bowl. And last but not least, 2 1/4 cups of flour. And the filling or fillings of your choice. And we're not doing anything yet. So, I have a really nifty iPad stand, and I'm going to show you my bowl instead of my face, so you can see what I'm doing. So, anyone who's ever baked a cookie will know how this goes. We're going to add wet, we're going to mix, we're going to add dry, we're going to mix. So we're going to start with our oil, and we're going to add it to our mixing bowl.
Okay, this in here. Mm-hmm.
And that's 1/4 cup of the liquid oil or fat of your choice. I see oil going in. Next, we're going to add our 2 eggs. Egg number 1. Egg number 2. And I'm just going to put this in the sink. And then we are going to add in our 2/3 of a cup of sugar and give it a mix until it's all smooth and combined. You just want to mix everything together until it looks like one nice, shiny yellow batter.
What was the last ingredient?
2/3 of a cup of sugar.
A bread.
Okay, hold on.
So in our bowl, we have oil, we have eggs, and we have sugar. And we mixed it until it's nice and smooth. And it looks like the color of an egg yolk. And then we are going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And if you're going to be extra, you can add in your lemon or orange zest, which is totally 1,000% optional.
I'm sorry, after the sugar, it was what?
1 teaspoon of vanilla.
Okay, thank you.
I'm using the zest because I happen to have an orange around that nobody feels like eating. So I'm going to zest it and cut it up after dinner, and then maybe someone will have a go at it. And if you're using a zester like mine, make sure you grab all the zest from the bottom because that's where all the flavor is. And then we're just going to mix it up again. And in our bowl, we have oil, eggs, sugar, vanilla, and the optional zest. If you are ready to keep going, you can give me a thumbs up.
How much vanilla was that?
1 teaspoon of vanilla.
Perfect.
I see vanilla going in. I see mixing. I see measuring. I see some thumbs going up. I see lots of oranges being zested. Okay, let me give it 10 more seconds. And then we're just gonna add in our 1 teaspoon of baking powder. If you don't have it, you will still have beautiful Hamantashen. This is baking powder. And then we're going to add in our 2 1/4 cups of flour. And
How much baking powder?
1 teaspoon of baking powder.
That was 2 teaspoons of what?
1 teaspoon of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of baking
something.
powder. 2 1/4 cups of flour.
2 1/4 of the flour.
2 1/4 cups of flour.
Okay, thank you.
Quarter of the baking powder and, no, a teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of what?
A teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of vanilla.
Perfect, thank
Okay.
you.
And flour is the last ingredient. So once you've got everything in your bowl, we're just gonna mix it up until we have a nice smooth dough with no lumps or streaks of flour.
And 2 1/4 cups of flour, right?
Yes, 2 1/4 cups of flour.
Thank you.
Did you want to pinch of salt?
Was salt already added?
A pinch of salt. You can
Okay.
add a pinch of salt right now.
Salt for this.
Once your dough has mostly come together, you can continue to mix it with a spoon, or you can use clean hands or gloves.
Clean gloves, obviously.
Clean gloves. I'm gonna put gloves on for the rest of the class because I had a little incident involving a finger, a car door, and an X-ray machine. So
Ooh,
Oh, no.
ooh, ooh.
I'm gloved, I'm sorry. So I'm just gonna
Did you shoot the
squish my dough together.
Is the dough very dry?
So if your dough is super dry, you can add 1 tablespoon of water or milk or orange juice or coffee or vodka, your liquid of choice.
What do you think, Colin? This feels very dry.
If your dough is
We're gonna need-
super wet, you can add 1 tablespoon of flour.
What do you add?
But your final dough should look like really nice, smooth, fresh Play-Doh.
What's your dough?
And just keep working the flour in. And eventually you'll get, see mine, I thought mine needed a little bit more liquid, but I keep squishing it together and it's coming along nicely.
Yeah, we added a little bit of liquid, Sylvia, and that made the difference.
Yeah, sometimes it just depends on what size eggs you use. If you over scoop your flour, the brand of flour.
Also, using your hands helps.
Yeah, using your hands once it's mostly together really gets all of the liquid incorporated into the dough.
It's sticking to my hands though.
If it's sticking to your hands, dust your hands in flour because your dough may need a little bit more flour.
How much liquid did you suggest adding at a time?
1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon. Okay.
1 teaspoon, work it in. If it needs more, add another teaspoon.
Abby, Sylvia, can I ask you a question? Why don't you use a mixer?
I don't like to wash a mixer. I also find when you have a good hand on the dough, you get a better sense if it needs flour, if it needs liquid. If you throw it all in a mixer, the mixer tends to overwork the dough and the dough gets really
Видишь, там кто-то в ротик кладет или нет? По-моему, никто не кладет в ротик.
So sometimes old school is better, huh, Sylvia?
My grandmother always used her hands in a mixing bowl, so.
Потому что
Honestly, another reason I don't call for a mixer is because not everyone has one. And I don't want someone not to have a chance to cook with me because they don't have a KitchenAid. Especially for my Manhattan classes. If I ask for a mixer, they'd look at me like I was nuts.
Well, they don't
Some
have
of
room
my
for one in their
families
kitchen.
don't even have a mixing bowl.
Well, they don't have room in their kitchen.
Exactly. I keep saying the suburbs is the way to go, but
Sylvia, can we ask you a question, please?
sure.
Okay, our dough is very crumbly. It's not coming together like yours. What do you
Okay.
recommend?
Tell me who I'm talking to so I can find out.
It shows up Sophia, but this is her mom, Marcy.
Okay, let's see. Let me find you. Hold on a second. I'm scrolling.
Sure, of course.
Wait. I'm still looking for you.
You want me to, I don't think our camera's on. You want me to put it on?
Yes, if you can.
Sure. Okay. Yes, of course.
Yes, hi. Oh, wait,
Hi.
wait. Oh, hi, Marcy. Okay, let me
How are
see
you?
your dough.
Oh, here, it's like more crumbly than yours.
So I would add a teaspoon of liquid and work that liquid in just like you were doing, and you'll have
Okay.
nice Play-Doh consistency.
Okay, thank you.
But you're on your way. It's looking good.
And I think Rachel, do you have your hand up?
Where's
have a question?
Rachel? Let me find you. Yes, Rachel, do you have a question?
Oh, do you want to put in sprinkles? Yeah.
Are we allowed to put sprinkles in our thing now?
What's your name, honey? What's your name?
Owen.
Owen, this is your Hamantashen. You can put anything you want in it. If you want to do sprinkles, I recommend adding 1/4 cup. But these are yours, Owen. Enjoy them. Own them.
We're putting sprinkles in ours.
Подожди, какая question?
I
We've
never
never done that
met
before.
someone who doesn't like a sprinkle. So if you're ready to start rolling, give me a thumbs up. I see it. Keep your thumbs up so I can make sure you're on your way.
Can I ask about our dough?
Sure. Tell me who I'm talking to.
Hi, I'm Asia, and this is Abby. She's helping me bake.
Hi, Asa and Abby. Let's see your dough. It looks like you need a teaspoon or 2 of liquid in there.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Any liquid you'd like.
Excuse me,
Sure. Who am I talking to?
Aaron Kane?
I didn't hear you.
Aaron Kane?
Aaron, let me find you. Hold on a second, Aaron.
He might be under Cynthia.
Yes, he's under Cynthia.
I'm looking for you, Aaron/Cynthia. Hold on.
Не надо ложечку туда, просто мы ничего не будем сейчас работать.
Aaron, do you? Oh, hi, Aaron. I see you. Let's see your dough.
Смотри, надо еще.
How does it look?
It's super gooey.
It's super gooey. Add a tablespoon of flour.
Okay.
Are your hands super gooey also?
Yes.
So add a spoonful of flour to your dough and dust your hands with flour too.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Abby, sorry.
Thank you. I made it.
So this is what your dough should look like.
Mine is still like powder.
Whose is like powder?
I might say Jared, but it's Julie.
It says
Jared.
Julie.
Hi, Julie. If
Hi.
it's powdery and crumbly, add a spoonful of water.
Okay, it's not crumbly, it's just like powder. But
Can I see it?
okay. Thank you.
If you hold it up to the screen. I don't see it. Higher. You add a spoonful of liquid. So I'm going to give everyone who's adding and subtracting a couple of seconds to work on their dough.
Abby, please.
But here's what it should look like. Looks like nice Play-Doh. You can show me your dough. And it smells really, really good. So if you're ready to roll, you're going to split your dough in half.
Abby, это мука.
I like to split my dough in half because if you're rolling out a big amount of dough, it just ends up all over the place and it's really difficult to work with. So we're going to take half of our dough and you can roll it on a counter or you can roll it between parchment paper. So I'm gonna take my dough and form it into a ball and then flatten it into a disc. And I'm gonna put it on my counter or on my parchment paper.
Да, смотри, как она.
And before we start rolling, you're gonna take your tray and line it with parchment or give it a spritz of cooking spray because we do not want our Hamantashen to stick.
You need spray if you're using one of these silk pads?
No, if you're using like that rubber silk pad, you do not need spray.
So you only need the spray if you're using parchment?
You only need the spray if you're using a naked pen or tinfoil.
Okay,
Parchment is naturally non-stick, so you don't need to spray it.
okay.
If
Thank
you want to take out an insurance policy, you can and spray it, but you don't need to.
Abby, no. Abby, no.
So I have my dough on my parchment, and I'm gonna take my rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can use a can of cooking spray, or you can use a wine bottle. Both are lovely replacements.
Видишь, как она? Видите, как она?
And I'm just gonna roll it out until it's nice and even.
Готово? Abby, look, next step. Abby, we don't need that. Abby, oh my God.
And the thinner your dough is, the harder it's gonna be to pinch without cracking. So I like mine roughly 1/4 inch thick. If you're baking with people who are about this high and who don't have a lot of patience, you can make it a little bit thicker than if you're baking with only adults. When I was about this high, I kind of smushed it and started pinching and filling right away. So I understand.
I'm baking with my husband, and he says his is done because it's very thick and he has no patience to roll it. So
My husband walked in a Hamantashen from earlier and walked out. So at least you have help.
How is this going?
Okay, so just a quick rolling tip. It rolls out much easier and much more even if you start from the middle and work out. So start from the middle and roll up, just like a clock. Roll to 12 o'clock, roll to 3 o'clock, roll to 6 o'clock. And I'm going to show you my dough in a minute so you can see how thick mine is if you'd like to measure. So this is my dough.
It's good.
And my 10-year-old will tell you it's about the thickness of a new iPhone.
Yeah, it looks about these numbers, I think. Yeah.
But really, there's no right or wrong thickness here. If you roll it out thicker, it'll just take a couple of extra minutes in the oven. So this is your call with your patience level.
How does everybody's dough look?
How's everyone's dough? Let's take a look. Oh, I see some nice dough. Looking good. Looking good. So to cut out your dough, you're going to need something round. So I'm using my favorite coffee mug. One of my earlier students used the lid of the baking powder. You can use a mason jar lid, a teacup, whatever you have that's round, and you're just gonna take your round cutter and make circles and press it down so that they come away from the rest of the dough. And you want to stamp your circles close together so that you don't have to keep rolling out dough.
Oh my God. You're doing a great job.
So I generally get about 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So my cutter is kind of big. It's about 3 inches. So you should get between 6 and 8. And then you're going to pull away all of the excess dough and add it back to your bowl for your second roll. And it's a little bit hard to see, but this one didn't come out like a perfect circle. So I'm going to take a scrap of dough and press it in to make it a circle. And no one will see the line over there where I patched it because it's going to be filled. So what is everybody using as filling? Feel free to show me what you've got. I'm using this chocolate sesame butter. I see Nutella, I see dulce de leche.
Apricot.
I see apricot, I see
Lemon
jam.
curd. Lemon curd.
Did I see chocolate chips? Oh, I see jam. I see someone has the jam from ShopRite. That's a really good one. Oh, I see chocolate chip cookie dough. I'm coming to your house. I see chocolate chips, poppy seed. Oh my gosh, that's my fave. Old school. Let's see, who else? Oh, we have cherry filling. Yum.
Sylvia, can I use this filling?
I didn't hear you.
Oh, it's the prune. It's a prune plum filling.
The prune is perfect. I have that in my fridge.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'm using this, which is, it's like the Oliver version of Nutella. So you're gonna want to grab 2 spoons for your filling. You're gonna take about a teaspoon of filling and use your second spoon as a finger to slide it into the middle of your dough. That way you don't get your fingers dirty.
They're over there for the button.
You can use 1 filling, multiple fillings, whatever floats your boat. My kids made Hamantashen with Hershey Kisses as the filling. And I'm gonna do 2 more. 1. And I like to fill all of my circles before I pinch them. That way, oops, I don't make a bigger mess. I'm gonna get rid of my spoons. And we are about ready to pinch. I see a lot of circles being rolled. I see a lot of fillings being plopped into centers, and I'll wait another 30 seconds and I'll show you how to pinch. Okay, let's see what we've got. Looking good, everyone. If your dough is sticking to your rolling pin, you can sprinkle the top of your dough with a little bit of flour. So if everyone wants to look at me, I'm going to show you how to pinch a Hamantashen, and I will continue to show you for the next 5 minutes. So if you miss this, don't worry. We're going to choose a circle, and we're going to pinch 2 halves together to form a point, and we're going to pinch it. If you have a sibling, you want to pinch it like you want to pinch your sibling. Really, really pinch. Don't pinch anyone, pinch your dough. And then you're going to look at the bottom, and there's a semicircle smiling up at you. You're going to fold that up, and you're going to see 2 corners appear, and you're going to really pinch those corners. And you don't want a ton of filling peeking out. That'll ensure that your Hamantashen don't burst open. So I'm going to put this on my tray. And these really don't spread a ton, so you can put them pretty close together, just not touching. So I'm going to do another one. I'm going to go to the top and bring in 2 sides to make a point. And I'm going to pinch, and then I'm going to bring up the semicircle that's smiling at me, and I'm going to pinch, and I'm going to add it to my tray. And this is the one that I patched up. So I'll show you how you can't tell. I'm going to pinch, I'm going to bring up the semicircle, and I'm going to pinch again. And I'm going to add it to my tray. So I'm going to pinch the top. I'm going to bring up the semicircle. I'm going to pinch the sides. And I'm going to add it to my tray. So here's what I've got so far. And I'm going to do 2 more. Pinch the top, pinch the bottom.
Sylvia, your pinching technique is excellent.
Thank you. So I'm going to show you on this one. You just jinxed me because
Sorry.
on this one, there's a little tear in the dough. So instead of adding this to my tray and watching it explode in the oven, I'm going to take a little pinch of dough, flatten it, and press it to my Hamantashen like a Band-Aid. That way I can kind of patch my dough.
The ones that don't come out right have no calories, right, Sylvia?
The ones that don't come out right are for the chef for quality control. In my house, we're very big on quality control. Whenever a brisket comes out of the oven, someone here needs to taste it just to make sure. So I'm going to do my last one. And I'm going to add it to my tray. And I'm going to put this filling away. And I'm going to do my second batch of dough. And for this one, I've got what's called oven-proof vanilla pudding. This is the stuff that you put in sufganiyot that I bought and never used for donuts on Hanukkah. So we're going to use it for Hamantashen on Purim. So I'm going to shape my second piece of dough into a disc, and I'm going to roll it out. And if anyone is out of time, patience, or effort, you can add that second dough to a Ziploc bag, label it Hamantashen, and pop it in the refrigerator for another time. So I'm just going to roll out my second. And I'm going to start from the center. And I'm going to keep going. So I rolled mine out pretty thick, so I think I'm gonna get about 15 from this recipe. But if you have more patience than me and you roll thinner, you can get about 24.
If you put your dough in the refrigerator, do you have to bring it to room temperature before you would bake?
If it's shaped and refrigerated, you can put it straight in the oven. But if you're gonna roll it out, I would leave it on the counter for 10 minutes. You can roll it chilled, just not straight from the fridge.
Thank you.
So this is almost ready to go. How's everyone's dough working? Awesome. I see a lot of beautiful Hamantashen. Okay. This is looking good.
Can you show us another pinch?
Yes, as soon as my dough is ready to pinch, I'll show it to you. I just want to get it a tiny bit thinner. Okay. One more roll and then I'll show you another pinch. Okay. I'm going to use my coffee mug to stamp out my circle.
Sylvia, why do they sometimes open up when they're baking? You know, we've all had those Hamantashen accidents. Is there a reason for that?
If they pop open, you probably didn't pinch it hard enough. But
Okay.
if you check them halfway through and they're starting to open, you can actually go in and squeeze them shut.
Oh, really?
Really, really carefully. If the dough is still pliable, you can pinch them shut. And if you pinch it hard enough, they'll stay shut.
Oh, that's great.
Just be careful. Disclaimer,
Okay.
you burn yourself.
Right, right. Because sometimes it looks like we pinched them hard enough, but then they open. So obviously we didn't. But it's good to know that they can still be fixed.
Sometimes the dough, the recipes that have a lot of flour in them are easier to work with, but because there's so much flour, there's nothing to kind of glue them together.
Ah, okay.
So that's why I said if your dough is sticky, you want to add a spoonful of flour. You want to add as little extra as needed to get it workable. And another reason for exploding Hamantashen is overfilling them. Because the filling is going to bubble up and rise and it's got nowhere to go. So it's just going to unfold your beautiful little Hamantashen pinches.
Well, that's the temptation though. You want a lot of
I
filling.
know. Okay, we can't give in to that temptation. So, of all the temptations, let's keep our Hamantashen minimally filled. So,
Okay.
if you want to see how to pinch another one, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So, we're going to start at the top, and you're going to take the 2 sides and bring them together and pinch. And then you're going to take the semicircle that's like looking up at you and bring it up straight and pinch. And then we're going to put that one on our tray. And
Sylvia, I think Rachel has her hand up. Rachel, do you have a question?
Do you have a question? I'm looking for you.
Could we put our things in the oven?
If you have a full tray, you can definitely put them in the oven and they'll take about 10 minutes to bake.
Okay.
I'm gonna show another one in just a minute. Okay. So I'll show you up here. You're gonna take the top half and pinch it together to form a point. Then the bottom part, that's a semicircle, you're gonna pull it up and pinch the two sides. And you don't want a ton of filling showing so that they don't explode. And if they explode, I promise they'll taste good. I can't make many promises, but that's one that I can make.
Well, it's a good reminder that part of one of the hidden pieces or mysteries of Purim is sometimes what is inside the Hamantashen.
Exactly. So since everybody here is making about 15 Hamantashen, I would love to remind you to think of somebody who is not here with us virtually baking Hamantashen, and maybe think of someone who can't bake, who doesn't want to bake, who may enjoy one, and maybe wrap it up and leave it by their door and wish them a happy Purim. So it may make somebody's day.
Yes. Well, that's a tradition of Purim, Sylvia, is to bring sweet things to your friends.
Yeah, so I like to do it. I like to give Mishloach Manot on Purim, like everyone else, but every year I think of someone who may not get something and I add them to my list just as a kind of extra special reminder that someone's there for them,
That's really nice.
Especially this year when we can't really be together in person. So this year I have my cousin's grandmother on the list who turned 90 this past year. And I usually see her at the Megillah reading, but I'm Zooming this year. So I'm gonna drop her, Mommy, I'm gonna drop her some Hamantashen and a bottle of grape juice.
Oh, that's lovely.
And I know she'll appreciate it. Oh, I have a special helper here. So I'm just gonna roll out my last piece of dough. You can do it.
I think, let's see, we got a question.
Does anybody have any questions? And while we scroll for questions, here are my Hamantashen.
Well, Leslie wants to know if we can explain the history behind Mishloach Manot. So that is a custom of giving gifts to your friends and neighbors, and they should have traditionally several different sweet items. So very often people will, in addition to Hamantashen, put in some dried fruit, maybe some fresh fruit, and sometimes a small bottle of grape juice or wine.
So just as an aside, for the Mishloach Manot, it should be 2 items, but there's also the custom of giving 2 items that are ready to eat. So right. Like you can give, let's say, a pineapple and some cookies, but giving someone a bag of flour and sugar and a recipe doesn't exactly count.
Right.
And some people go all out with themes. My theme is a Hamantashen and a bottle of grape juice. So.
And some people love to wrap them up in beautiful bags or boxes with lots of ribbon and string. So it can be really lovely.
And again, my theme is a Hamantashen and a bottle of grape juice with a ribbon.
Mommy, Betty said for curiosity for me.
Okay. Shh. I'd rather bake hundreds and hundreds of Hamantashen and share them with everybody than wrap them super fancy. My talents do not lie in gift wrapping. So if your trays are ready for the oven, they take about 10 to 12 minutes, depending on how thick you rolled your dough and how giant or tiny you cut out your circles.
Sylvia, can you remind us, someone wants to know how much sugar? I don't remember, that was.
It's 2/3 of a cup of sugar.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I'm gonna email out the full recipe tonight, so if you have the urge to make these again, please feel free.
Okay.
Yes, you can go too. Go inside it.
And I am rolling out every last bit of the dough.
Yeah, I won't do it, I won't do it. Oh, we don't waste dough here. And you're baking them at 350 degrees. Okay.
How long are we baking them for?
About 10 to 12 minutes, depending on the thickness and the size.
So probably check them at 10 minutes.
Mine are usually good at 10 to 11 minutes, but I'll show you one that I baked.
Mommy said them. Okay. Well,
One second. This is, I'm gonna show you another pinch. One second.
Is it baked?
This is a baked one. You can see that it doesn't really turn so golden. It kind of has the same color as the dough, but it's firm to the touch and it's very slightly golden at the bottom.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay, I'll put mine in the oven.
So I'm gonna show you three more pinches. My assistant is going to fill it. Okay.
What's your assistant's name?
What's your name? What's your name? You don't have a name?
I have a name.
Can you tell everyone your name? This is Marilyn. She's Mazal in Hebrew.
Mazal, what a wonderful Hebrew name.
Sylvia, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If you get into mass production and let's say you have 2 cookie sheets, does it matter if one's in a top rack and one's in the middle rack?
If you're mass producing Hamantashen, I would suggest rotating them at 5 minutes. The tray that's on the top, put it on the bottom, and the tray that's on the bottom, put it on the top. But if you forget, I promise nobody will know the difference.
Okay, thank you.
And it's fine if they're next to each other, right?
Yeah, you just don't want them touching. 1 second, Marilyn. As long as they're not touching, you're fine. They're gonna puff up a little bit, but they're not gonna spread like a chocolate chip cookie would spread.
Okay, I more so meant like the tray. It's okay if there's 2 trays next to each other?
Yes, but check them at 6 minutes because the ones on the edges may start to burn. So you may need to rotate your tray.
Okay.
So I'm gonna show you how to fill my last 3 Hamantashen.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay, 1 second. So I'm gonna tilt my screen. It's a little bit easier to see. So wait, I'm gonna do it. Hold on, you can do this one. So I'm going to bring, if you put your fingers on it, it's a little bit easier to see. So you're gonna put your fingers on a point on the top and you're gonna bring in those 2 sides to make a point. Then you're gonna take the bottom up to make 2 more points. It's a little bit hard to visualize. So if you look on YouTube, you can find Hamantashen pinching techniques and you can keep rewinding the video until you have it down perfectly.
Sylvia, we're also recording this. So it'll go up on the Temple website if you want.
So you can see me pinching and folding over and over and over. Better than YouTube. Beautiful.
It's actually very relaxing. It's like a stress reliever.
It's a beautiful dough to work with also.
You just helped me tremendously by using that word point, that bring it to the point at the top. So now I got it. I'm the one who said I was challenged here.
Oh, you know what? Sometimes it's just hard. When I do this in person, I like to walk around the tables and I actually move my students' hands.
Sure.
show them. It's just hard over.
But you just explained it this last time a little bit differently with showing that you start out making a point at the top. And that was the trick for me. Now I get it.
Oh, now you can mass produce.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So here is my tray.
Great.
And these are gonna head into the oven for about 10 minutes.
Oh, those look beautiful.
This is batch 7, so if I didn't have it down by now, we'd have a big problem.
We have so much other Hamantashen.
So,
Yeah. Do you ever do an egg wash? Or is that not a Hamantashen thing?
you can do an egg wash, I just don't think it's needed for a cookie because there's enough egg in the dough. But you can, you just don't need to.
But wouldn't that would give them a little bit of a shine, right?
It would give them a shine, but it's an eggy dough, so it's up to you. And I would love if you can all share your pictures after they're baked.
Can I share a picture?
Yeah.
Wait, Mom, yeah.
So I'm gonna pop these into the oven.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're not for you. So mine are in the oven.
Sylvia, here's the best question of the night. How long do they have to sit out of the oven before we can eat them?
If you don't want to burn yourself, 3 to 4 minutes.
Hey, I did it like the second I got it out last night.
She grabbed one last night the second they came out of the oven and she took a bite and dropped it. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh.
Give it a minute just to cool off because the filling has so much sugar in it and you don't want to burn yourself with molten jam.
Look, when I ate it, I only bit the side because the middle was steaming hot.
Yeah, I bet.
It was steaming hot.
Do you put them on like a cookie rack? Do you take them off onto a rack to cool?
I don't, I just leave them on the tray. So someone just wrote in the chat, they're having trouble getting the corners to stick. Use the tips of your fingers to really pinch them together.
Like you're pinching a sibling.
And it's easier if it's on the tray and you're pinching from the top, like this. Like a baby picking up a Cheerio.
I don't get it.
You don't have to. Okay, go inside.
It's hard to find good help.
Does anyone have any ready to come out of the oven yet?
No. 5 more minutes.
Okay. I'll show you some I made earlier. So these are some I made earlier just for kids. These are the ready.
And Oreos.
And for these, I added crushed Oreo to the dough and I used the vanilla pudding mix.
Oh, that sounds like a great combination.
And use chocolate chip.
And yeah, for this one, I added cocoa powder to the dough to get like a marble dough. And I used the Philadelphia cheesecake filling with chocolate chips.
Oh boy, that sounds amazing. Someone has their hand up. Asia has their hand up.
Yes, let's see.
Oh, that's okay. You already answered my question about the
okay. Are they pinching a little bit better now?
I mean, one is a mess. This is
Mommy,
no, that looks good. Pinch it closer to the filling.
Okay. Trying really hard here, but my helper's eating.
Is your helper eating the filling?
My helper's eating everything, but I'm trying to orient her away from eating the raw egg stuff and more towards the filling.
Good idea.
If it's a fruit filling, it counts towards dinner.
Yeah.
I don't think cheesecake filling counts.
No. So Sylvia, we decided to go classic tonight with the sweet fillings, but what's the deal with all of the savory Hamantashen that have become very popular?
So any dough that can be shaped into a triangle works. So I've made pizza Hamantashen, Syrian lahmacun Hamantashen. I've made shakshuka Hamantashen. So if you can cut it in a circle, fold it into a triangle, and fill it with something. If you can get, I don't have it, but if you can get Israeli malawach dough or puff pastry, you can cut it in like big 6-inch circles and fill it with shakshuka filling from Trader Joe's. It comes frozen. Defrost it. It's like the shakshuka tomato filling, and crack an egg in the center, and then pinch it, and you'll get like personal shakshuka pizza size Hamantashen.
Wow, I think that's going to be being made in our house. That sounds great. That sounds great. Now, if you're going to do a savory Hamantashen, do you change the batter at all?
So if you're gonna do a savory Hamantashen, I would not use this dough. I would use like a store-bought puff pastry, or you can get Goya empanada dough in the freezer section of the supermarket. That bakes up really nicely, and it doesn't puff. Like it bakes up like a cookie dough would bake. Like it's the same texture as this, but it's savory.
Oh, okay.
I've also used pizza dough from like Whole Foods or the pizza shop and rolled it out in a giant circle and made a giant pizza Hamantashen.
Oh, wow. Now, I think Rachel has their hand up. You can unmute yourself, Rachel.
Do they need to be like browned?
They're not gonna brown. They're gonna be a tiny bit golden on the bottom, but the original color will be very pale.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
You said 10 minutes, right?
About 10 minutes.
And then when we're rolling out our second dough, because I missed that, we put the wax paper on top.
Yes, the wax paper or the parchment paper on top, and that way the dough won't stick to your rolling pin.
All right, Leslie said delicious. Is that because you're already eating them, Leslie?
Oh yeah, I see a lot of good Hamantashen coming out.
Now, Sylvia, if we have some self-restraint and we don't eat all of them tonight, what's a good way to store them?
In a Ziploc bag in the freezer.
Oh, okay.
They'll also stay out in a Ziploc bag for a couple of days, but I find when I leave them out, they get eaten.
Absolutely.
And they're also delicious straight from the freezer.
Great. A nice cold treat.
So no fridge with these, just freezer or out.
Unless you're using like a cheesecake filling that needs to be refrigerated, they don't need the fridge.
Okay.
I put them on a pretty cake plate and cover it in plastic wrap. Oh, I see a lot of Hamantashen being eaten. How are they?
Yeah.
Yum.
No, those have to go on the other side.
We haven't done yet? Or?
No, they're about to be done. So we have 2 minutes left.
Okay, 2 minutes and ours will be done.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna check mine.
I had a little explosion, so.
Save that one for me.
The one that exploded is the quality control Hamantashen.
Yes, absolutely. These look better.
Oh, those are great.
Let's see.
It says that you must consume the dulce de leche within 1 month, so we have an assignment left over.
So the dulce de leche jar says that it must be consumed in a month. So we'll have to find a way to finish it. The dulce de leche that we didn't use for the Hamantashen.
I don't think that's a good goal.
Yeah.
And Passover is coming, so.
Right.
We gotta clear it all out anyway. It's a
Exactly.
mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. Does anyone else have a Hamantashen to share?
Soon.
20 seconds.
I'm gonna taste mine from earlier. I'm feeling left out that I can't eat my fresh one, so I'll try this one.
If when you touch the dough in the oven, it's still sticky, should that go a couple more minutes?
Give it 2 more minutes. These came out fantastic.
We just took ours out of the oven. They look great.
Did they explode?
One had a little bit of leakage, I would say, or spillage, but the rest are all great, which is actually a better ratio than we usually get. So your technique is really good, Sylvia.
I'm so happy.
I guess a lot of people are just having Hamantashen for dinner tonight.
It's fruit.
Carol, how'd they come out? Did you make yours
I'm
yet?
waiting, they're still a little pliable.
Okay.
Does the dulce de leche need to go in the refrigerator after it's open?
Yes, it says it did on the package.
Yeah, I've been looking for it. I don't see it.
Which one do you have?
Nestle.
Is it in a can or is it in a jar?
It's in a container.
Wait, who am I talking to?
Lori.
1 second, let me find you. Oh. I think that goes in the fridge.
Okay, well,
It can't hurt to put it in the fridge, Lori.
right. But
If you're using the dulce de leche in a can, you have to transfer it to a jar or container.
Right. Okay. Oh, I hear it.
I'm gonna check mine again.
Mine seem to be a little still, they're still a little wet. They'll come out soon.
Mine need a couple more minutes because I didn't roll them very thin at all.
No, I don't think I did either.
I was getting a little lazy with mine. Oh my goodness, if you only saw what my kitchen looked like.
Thank you so much. This was such a nice event, Sylvia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We hope your Purim will be very sweet.
I would love to see pictures of all of you enjoying your Hamantashen.
Thanks, Sylvia. This was
Thank you,
great.
Sylvia. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank
Yeah.
you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
A quick question.
Yeah.
I'm so behind.
Bye, everyone.
Good question. I'm so sorry. So when I'm guessing you just see the discards and then you roll back out again. And
I know.
Yes, you can keep rolling out all the discarded dough, or you can put it in the fridge and roll it tomorrow.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us.
was
We
lovely.
really had a great time. If you want to send your pictures of your Hamantashen, you can send them to me and I will forward them on to Sylvia.
I would love to see them. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Sylvia, we can't wait to cook with you again.
I can't wait.
Passover. Get over Passover. I want to hear more from the president.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night, everyone. And don't forget, join us for the pandemic Purim spiel on Thursday night.
Mine are still not done, so
Okay.
sorry. Happy Purim, everyone.
Thanks. Happy Purim, everybody.
Thank you. Happy Purim.
Everybody finished theirs way before me. Yeah.